Hi, this is Rich Formidoni from Korg. Today we're in the studio with Kronos, and I'm going to show you setlist mode. For years, customers have been asking us for an easy way to access sounds for live performance, without having to overwrite preset sounds, or without having to use an empty bank to copy sounds into the right order. Setlist lets you do exactly that. You can combine programs, combis, and sequences onto an easy access page that's easy to read in low light, and that you can get to anytime at the push of a button. And it also has some other cool features that you might not know about, so let's take a look. To get to setlist mode, all you need to do is push the setlist button that's just above the value dial to the right of the touch view display. Now what you're looking at on the screen is a series of 16 slots. These slots can each hold a program, combi, or sequence, or rather a shortcut to that program, combi, or sequence. So let's look at the very top of the page. Here we see Preload Setlist. If we touch the arrow right next to it, we see that we can select from a huge collection of set lists. Specifically, you can have 128 set lists at once. So right now we're working with the preloaded one, and just below the title of the sound we're currently looking at is some notes that are specific to the slot that we've pushed. So as I touch other slots on the screen, you'll see those notes change. Now there are 16 slots available on any one screen, and on the bottom of the display there are two tabs. So I'm going to push the one on the right that's labeled 16 to 31. So that gives me my next batch of 16 slots, all the way up to 127. So as I get up to the last page here and go back to 0 through 15, that's the one that we were first looking at. So each one of these 127 set lists in here can hold 127 slots. So that's over 16,000 available sounds, programs, combis, or sequences that you can have quick access to, and that's over 16,000 setlist slots at once. Just below the slots, you'll see a graphic EQ. If you touch that, you're taken to a 9-band graphic equalizer, and here I can use the physical faders on the left side of Kronos to manipulate this EQ. Now this is specific to each individual set list. So when you load a set list, you can save an EQ preset. So for example, if you're going to a venue where you know bass is an issue, you can lower the bass down or raise it accordingly and save that graphic EQ as part of this set list. Now you'll notice while we're here, by the way, this is the Control Surface tab. What we just pushed, I'll jump back to the play tab here, we pushed the EQ, and that brought us to the Control Surface tab and the EQ tab on the left side. These other tabs are the same things you see in the other modes of Kronos, and they match up to the physical buttons that are on the left side of the control surface. So these are different ways that you can assign the physical controls to interact with Kronos. For now, I'm just going to jump back to the Play tab. So let's take a look at each individual slot here. We can see that each one has a number. This is 0, that's 1, that's 2, and so on. Then it says SGX1. So this is telling me the type of engine that this particular sound is referencing. So this is an SGX1 piano sound. Just below that, it shows me the address of the sound. It's program internal A000, and then the name of the sound, Kronos German Grand, is right below it. So as we move along, we can see that the other sound engines are referenced as well. Here's EP1, there's CX3, Poly6, MS20. And the cool thing here is this is the first set list you see when you turn on the Kronos. This is the first screen you'll encounter. And it's really a guided tour of the instrument. So we run you through all 9 sound engines, and then we give you some combis on the bottom to explore. So now we'll play with one of those combis. So you get a nice variety of sounds to play with. And if we go to the next page, you'll see that the guided tour continues. So this is just sort of a representation of some of the sounds that you'll find in Kronos. Now, as we move forward, you'll see that the next page of 16 slots all reference the same sound, Kronos German Grand. And there we had Karma performing an arpeggio and a drum track on as well. And these are basically initialized or empty slots. So they're just showing you the very first sound in the keyboard. With that in mind, let's jump to edit mode. Now, it looks very similar, but we have some options for editing the individual slots. So as I touch one of the slots, I can then look above to edit the individual parameters of that slot. So for example, I can choose if I want to reference a program, a combi, or a song. Now, if I reference a song, I can choose which song that's currently loaded into the sequencer that I would like to reference, and then all I have to do is select the slot back in play mode and push the sequencer start-stop button to get the sound going. For now, let's keep looking at programs. Now, right next to where we just selected program, we can select the actual program one of two different ways. I can choose it by the actual address or by category. So as I touch the box labeled keyboard there, I get the category select screen, which I find in combi or program mode, and I can choose the sound that way. I just push the exit button to bring me back to the screen I was just looking at. Then I can give it a name. So I'll just type in test. Okay. So now you can see that the name test is there. And if we look back to the previous pages where we did our guided tour, that's where we programmed the actual name of the synth engine that we used. It's nice that you can customize that because you could make the title of the slot a song that you know you have to play. That way when you look at the set list and the band director calls out a song, you can just look for the song by name and tap the slot and you're good to go. Right next to that, you have volume. This allows you to set an individual volume for each of the slots in a set list. So if one of the programs is louder than another one, or you need a string sound to be quieter for background use, you could specifically set that in this parameter right here. Note that it won't affect the saved program or combi that it references, just the set list. Now here is hold time. Hold time is a parameter that's also available globally, and here you can set it for each slot in setlist mode. What it is the length of time that effects will take to die out after you stop playing that sound and switch to a new one. It's related to the smooth sound transitions, which, if you're not familiar with, it's one of the very cool features of Kronos, where you can select a sound and then select another one, and the original sound will continue playing if you're either holding down the keys or the sustain pedal. You can switch from a combi to a combi to a program to a program, whatever you like. So that's a very cool thing. Now, edit comment. This brings up a QWERTY keyboard where you can actually adjust the text that's above the slots in setlist mode. So, I'll push cancel here, go back to play mode, and this is the text that we're talking about. So you could use this to write lyrics or write notes to yourself to say, I have a solo after the third verse, or, watch out for the left hand here, whatever the case may be. Now, when you take the Kronos out of the box and turn it on, you'll see that, as I mentioned before, we've preloaded this set list with 2 pages worth of goodies, and each one of these slots has some notes on top. So for example, if I go to this CX3 organ program, it gives me some ideas for what to do. JS plus Y equals rotary speaker speed. So that means if I push up on the joystick to the left of the keys, it'll change the rotary speaker speed. So as you take the guided tour, make sure you look at all these notes because there are some nice little tips and tricks that'll help you get the most of the sounds that we're showing you. Now I'm going to jump back into edit mode, and you'll see on the bottom that the graphic EQ has been replaced with cut, copy, paste, and insert. So this lets you move slots around in setlist mode. So I'm going to touch this HD1 drums slot here, and I'm going to touch cut. Now, it just removed that slot and shifted the slot to the right of it over to the left. Now, I'm going to touch the Poly 6 slot, and I'm going to touch insert. Now, what it just did was it inserted that drum slot that I cut before the Poly 6 slot and shifted them all over one location. Now, I'm going to cut it again, select another slot, this AL1 program, and press paste. Now this time it pasted over that AL1 slot. So we just lost that, but all the other ones stayed exactly where they were. So if you know you want to keep the slots in place, use paste instead of insert. These commands are great because they work across all the pages of setlist mode, so you have a lot of customization available to you. Now, let's look at how we get a sound into setlist mode in the first place if we don't want to look it up right here. I'm going to shift over to program mode. Now, as we're cycling through sounds here, doing some exploring, let's say we find a sound that we really like. Just messing around with some of the controls there, the vector joystick, the ribbon controller, and the XY joystick. Now, what I'm going to do is touch the drop-down menu, and now I'm going to select Add to Setlist. Now, I'll jump back into Setlist mode by pushing the Setlist button, and there it is. It's occupied the last slot that we had selected, which was, if you remember, HD1 drums. Now take a look down here. There's HD1 drums. So it essentially inserted the slot in the location that we last had selected. Now, when you're done customizing a set list, what you want to do is touch the menu in the upper right corner and select Write Set List. Here you can give it a name and choose one of the slots, the locations from 0 to 127, where you want to save the set list. And the next time you power up your Kronos, the set list will be there ready for you to work with. I'm going to touch Cancel. If you've loaded up a set list that you've already created and you're just making some minor changes to it, you can also choose to press the Record Write button in the sequencer controls, and that will allow you to update your set list. Now I'm going to jump over to combi mode and touch the drop-down menu, and just to let you know, the Add to Set List parameter is right there. Same thing if I push exit, go to sequencer mode, touch the drop-down menu. The last option on the menu is Add to Setlist. So just like with programs, you can insert a combi or a sequence in any one of the slots. Also, don't forget, whether you're in setlist mode or anywhere else in Kronos and you're not sure what you're doing, just push the Help button. The entire manual is built right into the keyboard. It knows what page you're looking for, and all the information we just spoke about and more is right there. For more information, as always, check out korg.com/Kronos, and we'll see you next time. I'm Rich Formidoni. Thanks for watching.